Nobody tells you what learning to code is actually like. You see YouTubers building full-stack apps, you see people on social media saying they learned programming in 6 months and landed a tech job. You watch tutorials where everything works perfectly on the first try, and then you start coding yourself, and suddenly you run into an error you can't figure out, and ChatGPT isn't helping. Nothing works, and you start wondering, is programming really for me? The truth is that most beginners struggle with the exact same problems, not because they're bad at coding, it's because nobody tells you what this journey is really like. Today I'm gonna show you the 5 biggest coding frustrations almost every beginner experiences. And the last one is the reason so many people quit, even when they're making real progress. Let's start with a frustration that shocks almost everyone. Most of programming isn't writing code. When most people imagine programming, they picture themselves building things, writing features, creating websites, making apps, actually coding. But the reality hits. You spend 20 minutes writing code and 3 hours figuring out why it doesn't work. Nobody tells beginners this, but a huge part of programming is debugging. In fact, many professional developers spend more time fixing problems than writing new code. At first, it feels incredibly frustrating. You keep getting errors, but that's normal. You're doing exactly what programmers do. You spend hours trying to fix the bug, you change one random line, suddenly everything works, and you have no idea why it worked. If you've experienced that before, congratulations, you're officially a programmer. But here's the real problem. Most beginners aren't frustrated because they're debugging. They're frustrated because nobody teaches them how to debug. And that leads directly to frustration number 2. Nobody teaches you how to find the problem. Imagine this. You run your code, a giant wall of red text appears. You don't read the error. You copy it, paste it into Google, paste it into ChatGPT. You start searching everywhere for an answer. Anything except actually reading it. Sound familiar? The funny thing is that experienced developers usually do the opposite. They start by reading the error message carefully, because error messages often tell you exactly what's wrong. The problem is that nobody teaches beginners how to understand them. Nobody teaches you how to use a debugger, how to trace a bug step by step, or how to search for solutions effectively. Instead, you're expected to magically figure it out. And that's why debugging feels impossible at first. The biggest mindset shift in programming is realizing that your job isn't to know every answer. Your job is to investigate problems. Once you understand that, coding becomes much less stressful. But even if you become great at debugging, there's another trap that quietly keeps people stuck for months. And most beginners don't realize they're trapped. Tutorial hell feels like progress. This one is dangerous because it feels productive. You finish a course, you feel motivated, then you start a new course, then another one, then another one, then another course because the first one wasn't detailed enough, then another course because you forgot some concepts. Every day feels productive. Every day you're learning. But there's one problem. You're never building anything on your own. Then one day you decide, okay, time to create my own product. You open a blank folder and suddenly your mind goes completely blank. You don't know where to start and what files to create. You don't know how to structure anything. And that's because watching someone code isn't the same as coding. It's like watching fitness videos and expecting to build muscle. Your brain mistakes consumption for practice. That's why some people watch programming content for a year and still can build a simple product independently. The fastest way to escape tutorial hell is surprisingly simple. Build things before you feel ready, not after, before. Your projects will be messy, your code will be ugly, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. But tutorial hell often starts because of another problem, and it's something almost every beginner experiences. Too many resources are making you learn slower. We live in a weird time. There has never been more free programming content available. You have YouTube, courses, documentation, AI tools, and somehow learning feels harder than ever. Why? Because every resource tells you something different. One person says learn Python, another says learn JavaScript, someone else says I will replace you, someone says learn C++, and suddenly you're switching directions every week. At some point you've probably had this experience. You start learning one topic, that topic introduces another topic, which introduces another topic, which introduces 3 more topics. And 2 hours later you're watching a video about something completely unrelated to what you originally wanted to learn. The problem isn't lack of information. The problem is too much information. The programmers who improve fastest aren't consuming more content. They're focusing on fewer things. One language, one roadmap, one project, for longer than everyone else. And if you learn Frontend, that's exactly why I created my free Frontend roadmap guide. Because when you're starting out, the hardest part is figuring out what you learn next. If you want it, it's completely free. You can find it on my Telegram channel along with product ideas, guides, and other resources for developers. Link in the description. But even if you avoid every frustration we've talked about so far, there's still one problem waiting for you. And this is the one nobody completely escapes. Not beginners, not senior developers. You never feel like you know enough. Have you ever looked at a developer on YouTube and thought, wow, they know everything? You see them building projects effortlessly, talking about technologies you've never heard of, solving problems in minutes, and then you compare yourself to them. That's a big mistake. What you're seeing is years of experience compressed into 10-minute video. You're not seeing the mistakes, the confusion, the failed projects, the hundreds of hours spent being stuck. And because programming is much a messy field, it's easy to feel like you're always behind. Maybe you know a programming language, then you discover a framework, then databases, then cloud computing, then DevOps, then AI. The list never ends. No matter how much you learn, there's always another thing you don't know. And that's why so many developers struggle with imposter syndrome. You start thinking everyone else is ahead of you, but that's way more common than most people realize. Almost every developer has felt that way at some point. The goal isn't to know everything. Nobody does. The goal is to know enough to solve the problem in front of you. That's how real software development works. Not by knowing everything, but by figuring things out when you need them. So if you experience any of these frustrations, congratulations, you're having a normal programming experience. Your goal isn't to know everything. The goal is simply to become a little less confused than yesterday. And if that's happening, you're already moving in the right direction. Keep learning, keep building, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video.